Recorded live from the secret underground lair of Crimson Cowl Comics and Collectibles, this is the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast.
The following issues may contain spoilers. Now that we've had our roasted hot dogs in the Tiki Hut, let's go on an adventure with comic books. I'm Anthony.
I'm Kirby.
I'm Katie.
I'm Jim.
I'm Kevin.
Welcome to issue number 302 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club. Every time we record, we talk about comic books. On this week's show, we have a club discussion for issue 1 of Deadpool and Wolverine World War III. Then we're going to jump into the weekly reviews. That's where we go back and forth and we talk about the books that we've been reading. They could be new, they could be old. We're just going to talk about them there. And then in the news segment, we're going to do part 2 of 2 of our previews preview. If you go back to the previous episode, you'll catch our Marvel and DC Comics May 2024 for products coming out in July for the previews. But this episode, we're going to dive into the giant catalog, which goes into the independent publishers, the merchandise, the apparel, the collectibles, all of that fun stuff. But before we jump into the club discussion, as you heard, if you're our audio listener or if you're a video watcher, we have creator Kevin Wolf with us. You can go back to in the feed for a special creator interview with Kevin Wolf, who is the creator of The California Kids. So check out that episode to learn all about what Kevin does. But we are welcoming him here for this episode of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club. So welcome, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for coming back 1 week later and my strict rule of wearing the same clothes. Everybody, you did a great job because I'm like, you know what? Let's make them believe like we record back to back and let's just all meet here 1 week later. So you all did good. Nobody's ever going to know. So here we go. Let's jump right into it with the club discussion. Okay, first up is what I think is a 3-issue miniseries, Deadpool and Wolverine World War III #1. Wade Wilson and Logan at the ends of the earth and each other's throats. The most intensely mismatched team-up in comics and pop culture, the best there is and the merc with the mouth, undergoes a radical change as we kick off a 3-part, globe-spanning saga for the ages. The mysterious Delta believes in change. Change is good, but as he sets his sights on Deadpool and Wolverine is caught up in the plot, is the third time really the charm or the curse? Get ready for World War III to erupt on the scene. This comic is done by Joe Kelly, Adam Kubert, Frank Martin, and VC's Joe Sabino. So this is the beginning of a new miniseries starring Deadpool and Wolverine. Very timely as we are gearing up for a big blockbuster movie from Marvel Studios with Deadpool and Wolverine. So by the time these issues are out, they'll all be available, and we'll have a brand new movie as well. So it's a perfect time to kind of put fuel to the fire, if you will. Get excited. Read some comics starring Wolverine and Deadpool, and here it is. So what we're going to do a quick little overview of this comic and dive into our thoughts and opinions on it. We get a little opening up with kind of this dream nightmare scene with Wolverine, but waking up and basically being set on a mission through the Vancouver Police Department as they're tracking down somebody who is basically kind of leaving a murderous trail. We have Wolverine running into Deadpool, which leads into some chaos and some comedy and going after our main villain. And we'll see them part halfway through the book and kind of jump in and where we're going to see them meet up in the future. So that is just a quick overview. We're going to dive into it. And let's kick it off with Kirby. What are your thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine World War III issue #1?
I'll give you my negatives, then you can come back to my positives later on after you talk to everybody.
Sure.
I was a little nervous when I started out because I hate reading a comic sideways. And it's like, it's all right to give me a centerfold, but don't make me read the book and ruin my pages trying to hold it and stuff to get through this. And the first 4 pages are sideways, and then it jumps back to normalcy. So that was all right once that finally came to. But I love the story, and I don't have nothing negative about the story or anything. I'm really looking forward to the rest of this run. But the other issue I had was Wolverine's made of adamantium, and I would love to know how he can crack his neck. Because adamantium's a soft metal. It's not going to creak. It's not going to crack. So how is that possible?
Because
Those are my
when
two
you crack
negatives, which are pretty little. So,
because when you crack your joints, you're not actually cracking the bone. It's the air in the sockets in between that is popping.
yeah, that's a good.
Oh.
Yep.
There we go. I'm glad we had Dr. Jim here to answer that because I didn't have an answer. I didn't have any response to that. So
But yeah, I liked it. Those are the only little negatives I had.
cool, cool. Let's jump over from one Kevin to the other. Kevin Wolf, what are your thoughts on this one here?
Yeah, this was a fun adventure. Definitely I picked up on the sideways thing that Kirby mentioned. The art in this is amazing. Just incredible shots. If there's this one particular shot that really stood out to me here.
Yeah.
Just the foreshortening, the action, the breaking into the other panel space. I don't know a lot about Deadpool. I know a little bit more about Wolverine. And so one thing I did pick up on, and maybe somebody has an answer for this, in the first part of the story, he's in a brown and yellow costume. In the second part, he's in his blue and yellow costume. And I don't know if that is important or a mistake. So I'm curious about that.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think the brown one was the one, the original one. But yeah, I guess maybe it was that is interesting. I didn't pick up on that costume change here. So
Yeah.
maybe it's just laundry day or something, and he only had, or he really bloodied up that first one, and then he just
Yeah, because he does travel back. Where does he go? Back to Russia, and that's when he appears in the blue and yellow outfit. So there could be a story element behind it, but I'm not aware of it.
Yeah, because I know if anything, when we're dealing with Wolverine, he'll have roots in like Madripoor and stuff like that, and I think that's when he has like his whole other patch. I think he has that whole extra costume and stuff too. So yeah, what I'm gonna do is while we talk about it, we have a resident X-Men fan, Sean, who's a friend of mine. I'm gonna text him. He didn't get back to us during the recording of the last one. We're asking some stuff, but I'm gonna see if we can get some little history on that. But any other thoughts for the issue?
Yeah, there's really some memorable lines to this particular. It's a splash page here. If you just incredibly done, but really, I can't afford the luxury of giving over to pain. That's how my monster comes out, and just some real neat insights into his character. There's I picked up on some of these little symbols on this note to where he has to, he's following a trail, and then later in the comic, that symbol reappears on another character, and so there's a link there too that's probably being teased.
There you go.
Yeah, real fun stuff though. I like how he's eating a donut and driving a motorcycle at the same time.
Yeah, and what's funny is that on a Cartoonist by Night, which may or may not be out at this moment, we were talking about Tim Hortons, and was there like a fake, like
Yeah.
I forget what the name was, but wasn't it something like
Slim Morton's?
Yeah.
Right.
So Tim Hortons being like a Canadian, popular like donut and coffee and everything. So I kind of laughed at that because just last night at the time of this recording, we were talking about Tim Hortons just kind of randomly and stuff. So just kind of funny how that all of a sudden I saw a reference to that right away. Yes, Kirby.
One thing I gotta say about the suit thing, I mean, a lot of characters like Deadpool and stuff will wear them constantly, but a person like Wolverine won't wear a suit underneath his jacket and stuff like that. He's not a person that'll go changing in phone booths and stuff like that. But you notice in here, when he's in the yellow and brown, he goes through that bullet moment where it basically shreds his outfit. So his outfit's pretty much gone to start with. But you would think as much traveling as he does with Madripoor, Russia, all the different countries he goes to, he might leave a suit in each country, so he just has it accessible. But yeah, I can't see him ever walking around carrying a suit with him. I don't think there's ever been that type of moment. So yeah, he's either in it or he's not wearing it underneath his regular clothes that I know of.
Yeah, he never really has a Superman moment of, busting open the shirt in there.
But you see him after this one point, and it's basically the brown and yellow one. The chest is all open and stuff like that. So it's like
that. Sean didn't have any extra insight on that, so yeah, there's no other. But I like that theory of just that kind of having something stashed, wherever you go, and just kind of like leaving your toothbrush at a significant other's medicine cabinet or something. That way, you always have it just in case.
Yep.
That reminds me, I have to make sure my Hawaiian shirt is at a different podcast recording later, so I don't have to wear this underneath. So okay.
Not headed over to Polka and Pints tonight.
I honestly just found out about it the other day.
That
Somebody
sounds
asked
fun.
me about it, some local event that's happening to us.
Yeah, it's in the
Somebody
park
asked
there.
if I was going to that, and I was just like, considering it's the first time I've heard of it, I don't think I'm going. So, and I have an
It'll be
awesome
over
recording.
when we're done anyway.
Yeah. Let's jump over to Katie. Thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine World War III #1?
Sure. So there were several points in this book that reminded me of the Berserker series that we've been reading with the club. Just
Yeah.
like really similar, like action poses, and in a good way, right? In a good way. So I enjoyed that. I also thought that the art was really good in this issue. I think I actually probably lost something reading it digital because it sounds like there were some pretty impressive splash pages and stuff versus I'm going panel to panel.
Sure.
I don't think I have too many deep thoughts about this. I like what they're setting up. The end battle between Wolverine and Deadpool V3, I guess, has some interesting potential. I'm curious about why Deadpool decided he wanted to take on this new persona. But it was still a pretty fun like action comic, and they did a really great job using bad language without using bad language. There were some pretty good like back and forth one-liners in here. I liked it. Nothing too deep. I'm excited to see where it goes, and it was a fun read. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, now you say that, I'm kind of surprised with Wolverine and Deadpool
Yep.
together. There wasn't much swearing or anything in this book.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I checked the rating and it still has a parental advisory, but it's not under their like I think newly revised Max line or anything like that.
Mhm.
So for the most part, even though the upcoming movie is rated R for Marvel Studios and everything, but yeah, they for the most part
Yeah.
kept it pretty tame on the language front. But as far as everything else, they didn't hold back from just the blood and the gore and the all that kind of action. Jump over to Jim. Thoughts on this issue?
I got a couple things. I am not a real big Deadpool fan, but I was just wondering, on the first page, are those characters supposed to be younger versions of Logan and Wade?
So it definitely looks like Logan, and definitely with the white shirt and just the sideburns and everything. I don't know. I read this a couple times, just kind of try to get some extra context. But anybody else have any insight on? It just seemed like it was some kind of like nightmare dream that he was kind of reliving, and he's going through like the Weapon X stuff. So you see kind of like a Hulk version of him in the Weapon X, connections, the goggles, and all that stuff. But he's so I don't know if there's some kind of deeper.
Seems to be a younger man, and then the boy is holding that stick, kind of like katana-like. So I was wondering if that was supposed to be him. And then I did too catch that he was wearing the brown uniform. I did not catch the switch to the blue later on. But I did notice that he was originally called in by a Canadian police officer while he was kind of like at home in Canada, not on duty. But he did contact some X-Men personnel before he went to Russia. So maybe he checked in with people at the mansion and picked up his X-Men uniform. That's when he changed into the yellow and blue. So
There we go.
yeah, that's my theory after you brought it up. So, but again, I thought the action was great. The art pages were incredible. There was one that I think would make a great poster. It was kind of like Wolverine squatting on top of a wall. I can't find it right now, but
Is that it looks almost like a Batman pose over Gotham?
Yeah,
Is that the
yeah,
one?
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
that caught my eye too.
yeah, Anthony's got it there. Yeah, that one would be awesome poster. Yeah, but yeah, for not knowing a lot about Deadpool, I was quite interested in what happened. And when they're talking about version 3, do they mean Wade Wilson before Deadpool as version 1, or were there 2 other iterations of Deadpool before the one that we see at the end here?
So yeah, it's hard to tell. Like when you go through, like I haven't read like the original Deadpool. I've read a lot of Deadpool, but a lot of it's like, you know, 2013 and on. Whenever Brian Posehn jumped on the title, um, and but when you kind of take a look, like if you look from the movie standpoint of seeing certain versions of him and like the Weapon X program and just like all the different iterations that these characters have gone through their torture and their testing and stuff. So maybe like Joe Kelly, who I think is one of the top names for Deadpool writers from like 90s, early 2000s runs, if I'm not mistaken. So there might be something that he's harkening back to there, but I'm just gonna guess that yeah, we've seen, because even Deadpool as a character is kind of, he was never fully on a fourth wall breaker type of character, and while he doesn't really necessarily do too much of that in here, if any, but like the original character has had many different evolutions throughout the storytelling when different creators come on and kind of develop them and stuff. So that's all I don't have any uh exact facts to back any of that up, but yeah, kind of talking about the creators, Joe Kelly and Adam Kubert, definitely a very exhilarating story from, both written and drawn, and just seeing, when you have those kind of two powerhouse names, I think it definitely lived up to, what we see here on the page. And I think the Kuberts, I'm trying to think if it was Adam. Like one of them it would make sense that it's Adam, but I think Adam is the one that is known a lot for Wolverine stories throughout the decades and stuff. So it would make sense that because there's Andy Kubert as well, but I'm pretty sure Adam was the one that was known for Wolverine stories. So it
Yeah,
just
as far
like,
as I know.
yeah. So it's like, all right, we have a 3-part story where mildly advertising, even though we don't see movie advertisements, but the fact of having, new stories out with these characters with the same title and everything, so bringing in the heavy hitters to tell that, I think, is definitely a strong point. We see that play through. Yeah, I like the Wolverine. I just love his inner monologue all the time, and he's always the great character that just wants to stay out of everything but can't help but get go in and help when needs to be helped. And the beginning dialogue of him talking about his cell phone, I want to read that dialogue just because I thought it was pretty great, where he just goes, I got a phone, doesn't have a screen, flip
Yeah.
shut, old school, best part about it, never rings except when it does. So I just love that, like, 'cause that is a perfect like Wolverine type of attitude. Because yeah,
Yep.
we see him kick it back on a bar, but he knows where Wade is when it comes to where he said he's staying at his Airbnb or whatever the legal version of is in the Marvel, because they had a different name for it. Uh, so yeah, he's always ready to help, even though he does want to stay out of it all the time, but he just can't help but chime in. But yeah,
Speaking of the creators, Frank Martin, the color artist, is that the same Frank Martin that has been writing
yeah,
like
I
the Plumber
assume
stories?
I assume it's somebody different. I haven't read all of the newsletters and stuff, but I think I would have seen some promotion about it. But I think it's another Frank Martin, unless I'm wrong. But
Yeah, I think so too.
I would
Okay.
just assume that it's a different one. But I did have that same thought when I was reading it and wrote down the credits and stuff, and I'm like, is that our quote unquote our Frank Martin? But I don't think so. Kind of like I think there's like 3 Ryan Browns out there, so it's like one of those scenarios. So. Kevin Wolf, did you have something to chime in you wanted to say on that yet?
Oh, yeah, on this little panel, this was interesting. It stood out to me. The drawing on it was different, and I thought,
Yeah.
are the proportions off or is something wrong with it? but I think what it does is it's an homage, or I mean, Wolverine was a short guy originally, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, canonically within like Marvel Comics and everything, like a lot of people, I think have put him under 5 feet. I think
Yep.
like,
Oh, wow.
but like when you cast, 6'4" Hugh Jackman, so for the last 25 years, the majority of the world knows Wolverine as a tall Hugh Jackman, but a lot of people have always said like a fan casting of like Joe Pesci or Danny DeVito or something would be like a great Wolverine, and like, but yeah, so I remember like looking at that too and just seeing the stature of it, but I think that is kind of just because there's really no other context. Like you see him on the bike, you see him interacting with everybody,
Mhm.
but that panel specifically really does show.
Yeah, that was one of the things I wanted to mention because it just cracked me up. Just little Wolvie. It's like,
He's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
scruffy little scamp, if you will.
true. And then I was going to
Don't
ask
tell him I
everybody,
said that.
so this character that Deadpool and Wolverine are fighting, he seems to be some energy type of electricity character. And then when they slice him, there's these little, I expected him to disappear because he says, but I wasn't real either. And he's sliced, and there's sort of like this magic, yeah, there it is. These
yeah,
magic sort of,
crystallizing.
and then
Three slices and one slice.
oh right, yeah, 3 from the hand and then the 1 from the sword. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then I missed this panel of him sort of dismembered. So I pictured him disappearing as like energy, but
oh,
then
sure.
there's a body bag on the next page. And
Yeah,
so he was physically real.
and I'm not too familiar. I assume this is a new character. I didn't recognize him, and
I've never seen him before.
he keeps mentioning something about summer. He keeps talking about
Yeah.
you have summer, and I want summer. But
Yeah.
so I wonder if that'll just play, with the fact that he's in pieces, he's in a body bag. I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of take that energy element and we see him when they unzip it and he's in one piece again, possibly. I could, especially
Oh,
dealing with characters, the title characters being regenerative characters and stuff with their powers. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if we see that happen in the next one.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I'd like to know how his electrical type powers were, what they are actually doing to Wolverine and Deadpool when they cut him open and stuff like that, and how it messed with their healing factor and stuff. You didn't really see anything about it, but
But yeah, I think overall the story, concentrated on a lot of the action, got a little bit of the humor, not as much as, there's definitely more room for that in future one. But I think that was the only thing I was surprised at, is that I don't think we got a little tease of the Deadpool for those who maybe don't read them as much and stuff like that. And, we get a little bit of hint in there, but I'm looking forward to see where we pick up with the next issue. So.
Mhm.
yeah.
All right. Well, I think that will do it then. That was the first issue of a 3-issue miniseries for Deadpool and Wolverine World War III. Upcoming club discussions, we'll obviously be doing issues number 2 and 3. We have the final issue of Once Upon a Time at the End of the World with issue number 15 on the horizon. We have one-shots, very Disney-inspired one-shots. We have Uncle Scrooge and the Infinity Coin. We have What If Donald Duck Became Wolverine? So there's a lot of fun things that we're going to be talking about in the upcoming club discussions. But we have a couple more segments for this episode, so let's jump over to the weekly reviews. First up for the weekly review is a much anticipated book that I was excited for, the second installment of the Universal Monsters books over at Image Comics and Skybound. We are talking about Creature from the Black Lagoon Lives, issue number 1, miniseries premiere. A new horror dream team resurrects one of the most iconic monsters. Years after the events of the original film, journalist Kate Marsden hunts for the notorious serial killer in the heart of the Amazon. Hot on the trail of this madman, she soon encounters an unexpected new threat. But is it friend or foe? Or is it simply the creature from the Black Lagoon? This comic was done by Dan Waters, Ram V, Matthew Roberts, Dave Stewart, and DC Hopkins. All right, I'm a big Creature from the Black Lagoon fan. I just coincidentally have my drawing of the creature on my sleeve here on a brand new Hawaiian shirt, playing off of my um, creature from the Betty Lagoon. So I decided to dress up for the occasion. I was excited for this book. I bought blank variant cover sketch variants. I bought cover B. I think I bought cover C or D, a couple of the incentive ones. So anything that wasn't ridiculously priced, I wasn't buying $100 variants of this, but I picked up whatever I could because I was excited for this book. This book takes place a couple years after the original movie. And the first thing I had to look up is that because we are following this character of Kate, and right away I'd just be like, okay, is this the woman from the first one? All the scientists are on the boat, and she was being lurked upon within the waters from the creature, and but that character was Kay, so I had to make some distinction. So I think this is a brand new character, and the story is very interesting. It's very it's a very big mystery for this issue. If you're going into this being like, all right, I want to see the Gill Man on every single page, you're not going to get that in this issue. You definitely, save it for a nice little hook to kind of get you back in. But it really does concentrate on just building the story of these brand new characters. I think one of the original scientists from the movie shows up in here. I didn't name check everybody, but the main one was Kate. Is that she was the one that I wanted to double check to see if we were dealing with that same character or not. But new character who basically we're living through her trauma, basically a trauma of drowning, and she kind of gets very inner monologue talking about the experience of drowning and talking about how this is the most peaceful way to die, and kind of explains the reason behind it of it, just kind of like what happens to you in that situation. But she is somebody who has survived this, somebody who is a victim of this murderer that's going around. And we basically open it up, just kind of showing some of the awesome art here as we get a lot of the kind of world traveling, dealing with going into the Amazon. And we see that there's sort of a creature culture, if you will. We see some shops that are selling some Gilman related, totems and things like that. And the story does a good job of kind of building you up, making you think that she is a victim of the Gill Man. That's what made me think that this was that same character from the movie. But it is interweaving a second story, which the case of this murderer that kind of keeps going around, that while she escaped as a journalist, she's basically trying to track this person down and try to get to the bottom of it. And it almost makes it feel like the Gill Man was the one that she escaped from. But we see very brilliantly the way the story kind of interweaves and has her going into the Black Lagoon space as she's getting some leads on our murderer, and other people are basically trying to get there before her. I'm just going to show off a couple of things. I'm not going to show off the final pages or anything like that. But overall, like I said, going in, if you just want to see this beautifully drawn Francesco Francavilla cover A Gilman, you're not getting a lot of that within that first issue, but you get a lot of world building for all of the surrounding characters. And I'm very intrigued by seeing where this character how this character meets up with the creature, with bringing her trauma of drowning and being a potential victim of a murderer, and how she reacts to our title character. So if anything, this issue totally sold me on issue number 2, which I was going to buy anyways. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting introduction to sequel follow up to the original movie, bringing it in with brand new characters from the get go. So yeah, that is Creature from the Black Lagoon Lives #1. Jump over to Kirby.
It's good to hear because I haven't read the first one yet. And I just assumed it was going to be like the Dracula one and just play off the old thing. I'm glad that it's a different storyline.
Totally.
So, nice to know. First off, before I give my comic review, I got to give our sponsor a shout out, our sponsor shout out today. Okay. This is by Joffy's Star Wars Coffee Dark Roast. It's
ooh, that sounds good.
I happened to get it for my birthday, so I figured I'd try it out today, since I tried the Stabby Bunny coffee and wasn't a big fan of that at all. But this one is at Joffy's. Each blend is developed using the best Arabica beans from around the world and masterfully roasted to highlight exotic flavors in each cup. Our dedication to quality is one of the reasons Joffy's is the official specialty coffee for Walt Disney World Resort, Disneyland Resort, and Disney Vacation Club. They partner with Lucasfilm Ltd. LLC to bring you this artisan coffee blend. Our roastmaster has searched across the galaxy for the finest quality 100% Arabica beans and is excited to share the dark roasted blend with you. I really like this one. This one
Nice.
gets a 9 out of 10 for me for dark coffee, and it's nice and smooth. But yeah, compared to the Stabby Bunny, this one I really like.
So yeah, shout out
Tasty.
to unofficial sponsor. Use the promo code Kirby and get maybe something. I don't know.
Kirby caffeine. All right, we got Harley Quinn Annual. I picked this up, well, because it's Harley Quinn, of course. And then we have Erica Henderson. You could instantly see the Squirrel Girl feel to it. So I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely going to check this out. And getting Harley Quinn with that Squirrel Girl face on her, just, yeah, that's just awesome. I was really happy about that. But she does a heist and doesn't get noticed. It's like, they barely get caught on a camera. They're disappointed because Harley, of course, wants to get the recognition for anything evil that she does. So they don't get recognized, and she's mad about it. So she's like, well, I gotta take a vacation. I gotta just take a break from this. Since she didn't get arrested, she's gonna go on a cruise. And she hops on a cruise ship, and of course gets the biggest unit on the ship and stuff. It's got like 6 bedrooms and stuff, the master suite. And the storyline is called Now You See Me, Now You Die by Erica Henderson. And we also have Hassan Asmain Alhu and James Reed on here. And yep, editors Ariana Turturro and Ben Abernathy. But she gets on the cruise. She's doing all the basics, eating everything she can, floating down the lazy river, just trying to have a good time partying and stuff. And she is bored. And it's like not enough excitement for her, not enough bad things going on. So she starts wandering around the back areas, just trying to look for any type of trouble she could get into or anything. And she finds out that Zatanna's got a show on the boat, and she's gonna go. She's like, well, I gotta get a hold of Zatanna and talk to her because she's gotten me arrested before and stuff like that. They know each other good enough. And she goes and sees Zatanna in her room before the show getting ready, and it's like you could tell there's something a little bit off with Zatanna. It's like it's just not that character. It just something's wrong here. So Harley Quinn goes out to the beach area, wanders around, and just happens to catch Zatanna lounging on a beach thing and just covering her, has the big hat on, her sunglasses, just trying not to get recognized. Well, she used a spell to create a duplicate to do the shows for her so she can actually enjoy her vacation and just get away from everybody. If you use magic, something's going to go wrong eventually if you try something like that. And it does. They go to a show. Harley makes Zatanna go see her show. And while they're watching the show, the lights all go off during a knife throwing stunt. And all of a sudden the lights come back on and we got a character on the floor laying there dead with a knife in his back. So they, of course, got to see what's going on, and obviously Zatanna's set up. She's going to be accused of murder and all this, so they got to figure out what's going on. Well, it ends up being that the character that gets stabbed is Vandal Savage, which I do not know this character, but he's still alive. The knife didn't go deep enough. He's a big, strong, muscular guy, so he got injured, but nothing deadly or anything. So they're like, well, let's solve this crime. That will give us something to do for the next 6 days on a cruise. And as they do, go through trying to figure out who did what and who threw the knife and stuff. We get to see this bronze tiger character shows up, and you can see there's a character behind the mask, but you don't really get to find out who it is. And while he shows up, all of a sudden the knife gets you see a knife get thrown into one of the lounge chairs, and so they instantly think he's the murderer. And then while they're also dealing with that, Guy Mandrake shows up, and this Guy Mandrake character, if you sit there and look at his eyes, it causes you to blow chunks. So all of a sudden, everybody's getting sick on the boat, and there's all kinds of nasty stuff going on. I don't want to ruin the whole ending of it and stuff, because there's still a good chunk of the storyline in here. But this was really fun. I was thinking it was going to be a few stories, but it was just one story. But yeah, Harley does what she can to get herself in trouble, because she just doesn't feel right if she's being good all the time, of course. So she has to have that little bad girl persona in her. But yeah, this was a lot of fun how they did this. And then with the Squirrel Girl feel in the background with the characters and all that, I love Erica Henderson's work, so I will take anything she puts out there. But yeah, this is a really fun annual, so check it out if you like Harley. So lots of action, lots of storyline. Yeah, you're muted. Busted you for once.
I was just making sure you guys are all paying attention. Maybe Jim can back me up on this, but I think the Vandal Savage from like Legends of Tomorrow, like part of that, like the time kind of character.
Vandal Savage is a prehistoric character who found a piece of a meteorite that gave him immortal powers, and he has been alive longer than any character in the DC universes, and he is a longtime villain of Batman. He's got all the money and power and everything from like 10,000 years worth of history invested that he could have, and even if he is like destroyed down to a single cell, he will eventually regenerate.
No, it's like I feel like I heard the name before, but I didn't recognize it.
He's been around for quite a while in comic books.
Yeah, cool. And he's over in the Legends Tomorrow for like the CW DC shows and stuff. So for that's where I first knew him. But yeah,
is he related to Craven from? Well, yeah, that he would be a totally different.
Yeah, DC.
If they were ever to agree to do another crossover, that would be a great way of.
That's the first thing that stuck in my head.
I have a feeling Craven might have been inspired by him.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Just one of those, yeah. Cool.
Well, I did look up a Wolverine in the Marvel Encyclopedia while we were doing this, and he is canonically 5'3". So yeah, he's pretty short.
Yeah, I thought there was
taller
something
than Wolverine.
Like he said to someone, "I'm 5'4" or something at one time during a joke thing.
So yeah, Katie, if you're going to audition for Wolverine, I don't know. You know, Hugh Jackman got away with it. I'm not sure if they're going to keep going with taller actors or not. But yeah.
Yeah.
X-23 maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be cool.
Very excited to hear Jim's discussion for his title. Let's have it.
I have Teen Titans Go to the Library, and Anthony's got it too, apparently. I saw this, I don't remember what book I was reading on my Kindle or on my iPad, and it was at the back of one of the comics, and it's like, oh, this looks like fun. There's a description they had. So I ordered it, and then it's like, what happened? And it's like, I didn't show up in my library. So I had to go back to Amazon and look, and I ended up ordering the actual physical copy, not the Kindle copy, so I had to wait a couple days to get it. But this was so fun. Yeah. It was. It's Beast Boy is wandering around Teen Titans Tower, and he's looking for Raven because he's hungry. He wants her to order a pizza or magic a pizza for them. But she is gone. She's not around. She has gone and put herself in a private library where she can do some reading, and they finally get together and find her. She gets upset and zaps them all, and they go off into this magical library dimension where they're all in their own story. Raven's story is all Edgar Allan Poe, of course, the Raven, dark, mysterious setting, very gothic and all that. Robin's he is in a black and white Shakespearean Hamlet type setting. I love his Robin costume in these black and whites. That's really cool. And then Beast Boy is in a arts and craft, paper craft kind of story, where it's all paper cutouts, on the page, and it's really cute. And then Cyborg is, of course, blueprints. The whole story is drawn in blueprints. They all. And then Starfire is in abstract, not an abstract, but impressionist type painting, like Monet or Picasso style.
Your Starry Night type of.
Yeah, very Starry Night. Some of it's more Monet like, but yeah, it's really interesting art stuff. They each have their own art, and they each have to find their own way out of their own story into the main library, so they can all get back together again. And it was just a lot of fun. And it was like, and then there is one interlude where they all seem to be gathered together, and it is drawn as the Tiny Titans.
Yes.
So that was good. I was hoping to do this one a couple of weeks ago when we were going to have a different guest that wasn't able to make it, but this was a very interesting, very fun book. I always watched Teen Titans Go with my young niece when she was, very little and was over. Something that we both enjoyed watching at the same time, because a lot of the shows that the little kids watch now, I didn't, like Bluey, I never got into that kind of stuff. So, but Teen Titans Go, she liked, so it was always fun to read Teen Titans Go. And then, it's just a really well done. And it wasn't a little story. This is a fairly good sized book, so yeah. Yeah, it was very interesting. And I don't read these very often, but occasionally, I do. So yeah, it's good.
That
Yeah,
sounds
I was
fun.
really happy with it.
Yeah, I had mentioned this one when it had come out because Franco is the one that orchestrated this all, and while he has assists from Art Baltazar and Agnes Garboska, I've told Franco this, and I've mentioned it on both of the shows that I do, that this is such a brilliant piece of work, and it just showcases how versatile Franco's art is, and you see that through all the different, what Jim was explaining, where all the different characters go into all these different types of stories, and the fact that you see rather than grabbing a different artist for each one, with exception of the Tiny Titans and, Agnes Garboska's story and stuff. But you see, Franco just dipping in and out of his style, that while he has his Franco style, but he also likes to dabble in everything and just all different kind of mediums. And this is just a perfect example of his creativity. And yeah, this is something that I was blown away by. I think it's a perfect graphic.
I like the way they put the credits, written by Franco and Art Baltazar, mostly drawn by Franco.
Yep. Because normally when Art and Franco are working together, it's mostly Art doing the work. So yeah, this was Franco's time to shine, but it definitely had Art had a really decent sized story in there too, because you would think that it would just be a couple pages just based on his own schedule and deadlines, but no, but this was also something I know they announced like several years ago, and it's one of those things that when they announce it, it comes out like 11 months later, 13 months later. It's always one of those long projected things. So this was something they probably had in the books for quite some time. But yeah, I was excited to see that you brought it up, and I'll never tire talking about Teen Titans Go to the Library. So
132 pages. So yeah, that's a really good sized story.
and if you want just some more excellent storytelling from Franco, Dead Man Tells the Spooky Tales. I've talked about that on the show. that is all told through Deadman, but is all dealing with there's a different artist that is taken on each story rather than Franco doing the majority of the work. But that's another great example of him playing sort of anthology type, but even though it's not an anthology story, you know, like with this one here. And yeah, he's doing awesome stuff over there. Okay. So let's jump over to Kevin Wolf. So when we had Kevin Wolf on our special creator interview talking about the California kids and To Fight a Hessian, please check out that episode in the audio feeds. And if it's you're watching this in the far future, check out the video feeds to see that interview episode. But we always welcome our creator guest into the comic club, and Kevin was excited to join us and brought his own weekly review. So what did you bring us?
Yeah, so this is called Armored.
Ooh.
Here is the page. Has a bit of a Frank Quietly cover style art.
I can see that.
And I didn't know about this title. It just appeared this week at my LCS on the racks, and I love medieval themed comics, so it obviously caught my eye. The press is called Clover Press, and the writer is Michael Schwartz. I don't know if anybody knows. Does anybody know that name? He worked on the screenplay for Gnome Alone. It's I think it's a Netflix fun little series, if I remember, and Zombie Town. I'm not familiar with Zombie Town. So and I'll just read just this quick little paragraph in the back. Andy, who is the main character of the story, has just been adopted by a family living in the countryside. He stumbles across a mystical suit of armor, haunted by the ghost who wore it centuries ago. What could go wrong? And then there's a quote by R.L. Stine on the back, and also a little quote from Frank Quietly himself. Says it uses color brilliantly and in both modeling and storytelling, and that's Frank Quietly's comment. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by it. I really enjoyed the first issue, and I'm not too sure how many issues there are, but the style is sort of a watercolor painterly style, and
I love that.
yeah, it's really moody and captures a lot of emotions and sort of this horror-esque type of thing. But initially it starts by following these three kids on an adventure to explore this castle ruin. And there's a monster that's introduced into the story. I'll give you a quick little look at the monster there. And somebody gets hurt.
Whoa.
Somebody gets hurt. Somebody, yeah, I don't know how much to say. I don't know should I give a spoiler free or?
I'll tell you this, we don't hear it in the recording, but for both the audio and video feeds, we do announce that spoilers could happen. So you can say whatever you'd like to say.
Okay. All right. It's better to, yeah, I would like to do the spoiler. Let's see, with spoilers. Or else I feel like I'm talking in code or something.
Free.
Yeah. So this kid dies at the very beginning of the story.
Oh.
But that's an important plot point because the parents who lost this kid are trying to adopt a child, and so 2 years later they meet this kid Andy here, and he's the main kid. His parents have disappeared, no reason, no explanation, and he's going through what is it called? Not the adoption system. There's a phrase for it.
Foster care?
Yeah, like the foster care system. Yeah, thank you. And so they decide to adopt him. Here's the family. The Collins is their name. And so the boy that died is their child. And the father is a medievalist. He's very interested in the medieval ages. He studied this castle, and that's one of the reasons why the kids at the beginning of the story were exploring the castle, because the one is like, yeah, my dad knows all about this stuff. So anyway, so Andy is adopted by them. On the road home, there's this green glow in his eye, and that green glow is also appearing in the castle. So there's a connection somehow between Andy and this castle. What's really fun about the story, and like my California kids stories, it's kids in school figuring out how to become humans and just dealing roughly with each other. And what's sort of, it's pretty moving actually, when he comes into the classroom, they introduce the students to him and they say, here's your seat. And it's the only seat available in the classroom, and it's the seat of the kid that's passed away. And so it's a pretty heavy moment, and the people, the other students are like, no, he can't sit there. That's so and so seat. And so there's a lot of tension and him trying to figure out his place in the school. And a girl sort of, I forget her name I don't even know. You mean Kathy? I think her name might be Kathy. I'm not even sure if they say her name, but she takes him under her wing and sort of helps him navigate a little bit some of the social elements. And then he returns to the castle. And he's also known as sort of a sleuth too, because he's trying to figure out where his parents went. And so wherever he goes, people unplug phones and turn off computers, because that's all he wants to do, is trying to figure out what happened to his parents. So he has an interaction in the castle. There's a crypt scene, and he comes in contact with this armor and the ghost that formerly wore that armor. And then it's just a really fun story. The monster appears again, and I won't give away the end of it. But he also, this is a very, well, for me as a medievalist, this scene is a picture of the house of the family that he's adopted into, and there's all these evil nods. So this is a reference to the WWIII tapestry, which is a medieval tapestry. We have the Anglo-Saxon helmet that was found in a ship burial, and so there's all these little historical references that
Very cool.
Yeah, sort of get me excited, I guess. Yeah, super fun. I think it's going to go into this element of how does he use the armor. He doesn't want it and sort of rejects it at first, and just a fun story. And then I just randomly came across it. So Armored is
Yeah,
the title.
I looked and I saw there's at least an issue 2 scheduled for June, but at the moment I didn't see anything else solicited beyond that. But so you can at least
Yeah.
expect another issue in June.
Yeah, and there's also a little author note in the background, and that was actually really really moving, just to hear his experience with this project and what he had planned, what happened with it. He went through some loss. He got all of his comic books. I forget how many long boxes he had. He got them all stolen. And that incident is very connected to him. He almost gave up on comics entirely. And then he's like, this story has to be told in comic form. And that was his sort of, as a creator, his way back into the comic scene.
Whoa.
Yeah, so super powerful. And then Jay Lee is an incredible artist. He did a variant cover.
Nice.
Sort of on a little bit on the darker side of the story, but super fun. Anyways, I was jazzed to find it.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, especially just to kind of pick it up randomly and have it catch your eye and stuff. So
totally
cool. All right, well, that is going to do it for the weekly reviews, and we'll come back with another segment and find out if Kirby got that fly or not. Stay tuned.
And now the news.
Welcome to part 2 of 2 of our previews preview. Check out the previous episode to catch our Marvel and DC recommendations. But we are going to dive into the independent catalog with the merchandise, the apparel, the collectibles, and all of that fun stuff. The May catalogs for products coming out in July and beyond. I'll kick it off here with something that I was debating, but then I read some names that are involved, and I'm like, all right, I'm in. Over at Boom Studios, who now gets the front of the book treatment, and rightfully so, great company. Hello Darkness #1 is their gem of the month, written by Garth Ennis, James Tynion IV, Brian Azzarello. We have Becky Cloonan, Werther Dell, Del Itera and Vanessa R. Del Rey, and more. Horror fans rejoice in Cadaverous Delight because Hello Darkness is a brand new monthly anthology series featuring Boom Studios as featuring what they are known for, the best in modern horror, fantasy, and mystery, not to mention the darkest stories yet from an all-star cast of creators with a spine-tingling lineup of industry legends which I mentioned and more. Everything from primal fears to modern political horrors will be awakened in this classic style of creepy and eerie and the contemporary chills of Black Mirror. In addition, fans can expect the deadly new Something is Killing the Children story in the first 6 issues, along with a bone rattling new serialized tale by Garth Ennis and Becky Cloonan for the first 7. So, kind of like what the Image Plus did, I think that's what it was called, or that was the magazine, the Image 25th anniversary, whatever, where they basically had a bunch of new anthologies, but they also had connecting stories from issue to issue. So there's a lot of great creative teams. I see a variant cover from Jenny Frison, but also it's one of the incentive ones, so it's probably something I probably won't end up having the opportunity to get, but I'm willing to give it a first issue shot to kind of see what this new Hello Darkness has to introduce. So that's my first one. Let's jump over to Kirby.
Yeah, I want that, and I want the Jenny Prison cover, so hopefully I'll get lucky, but we'll see.
Yep.
Borderlands, Dead or Alive, coming out with a variety of different Borderland books right now. Discover what awaited the thieving sister duo Fiona and Sasha after they open the vault of the Traveler in this new Borderlands adventure. The treasure of the Vault Hunter offers unlimited possibilities, unspeakable power, and untold riches. With just one wish, the sisters suddenly find themselves with everything they've ever wanted at their fingertips. So I'm guessing this is running, well, it's from the writer of Borderlands 2, so yeah, I'm guessing it's running right off of the end of Borderlands 3. So, and that is done by Anthony Birch, I guess, is the writer of Borderlands 2, so it doesn't have any other names with it. So
Cool. And I'm happy to report that I was wrong about the incentive nature of it because the Jenny Frison cover is available for all audiences. So
okay, because I thought I had it just in my cart as a normal. So
there might be
cool.
another one that I noted as an incentive. So I'm happy to be wrong in that nature. So
yeah,
Jenny
you
Frison
make me nervous.
Jump over to Katie. Anything from the independents here?
Sure. So we have Dune, the graphic novel, book 3, called The Prophet. I have 1 and 2. It's written by Frank Herbert with adaptations by Kevin J. Anderson, Brian Herbert, lovely art by Raoul Allen, and cover by Bill Sienkiewicz. This is adopting the story of the first Dune book, with the main character Paul Atreides. Don't want to read too many spoilers about it, but the story has been around for a while. Anyway, this is leading up to the final battle on Dune with the Fremen versus the Harkonnens. It's going to be $25.99 and is expected to be in shops on July 17th, 2024. And then also in the catalog, there are reprints of the first 2 volumes and the special editions. And this has been really, really good. If we go, gosh, probably like a year or so back, I reviewed the first volume, but I really enjoyed it. I'm a bit of a bandwagon fan of Dune, but I thought it was really good. And I have pre-ordered Dune, the graphic novel, book 3. Check it out.
Excellent. Anything from Jim?
I have not looked at the catalog, but I'll hang out and see if anything comes up for a possible club pick.
Cool. Mentioned R.L. Stine earlier. There's a new one, The Graveyard Club #1. Fresh YA horror from R.L. Stine for fans of Wednesday, the television program. Gravesend is as sleepy a town as they come, especially being surrounded by cemeteries, and the local kids could think of nowhere else they'd rather wreak harmless havoc. But being surrounded by cemeteries comes to the pervasive reminder that there are more dead than there are living. This is written by R.L. Stine, illustrated by Carola Borelli, and everything that R.L. Stine has been doing in comic books, when it started with his Man-Thing miniseries that had original mini-story backups after that 5-issue miniseries. Then there was I forget some of the titles offhand, but he had a couple other books through, I think, Boom. And everything that R.L. Stine's been doing in comic books, I've been picking up. And he shaped my childhood when it comes to the Goosebumps books. And I treasure his storytelling. And I'm definitely getting The Graveyard Club #1. Kirby?
My next one is Witchblade #1, Marguerite Bennett, Giuseppe Cafaro, Arif Prianto, Mark Silvestri, and Arif Prianto. Worked on that one. Sarah Pazzini is back in an all-new origin story, a reimagining of the classic storyline. This high-octane, supernatural thriller starts at the beginning with familiar characters and new story arcs. New York City police detective Sarah Pazzini's life was forever fractured by her father's murder. Cold, cunning, and hell-bent on revenge, Sarah now stalks a vicious criminal cabal beneath the city, where an ancient power collides and transforms her into something wild, magnificent, and beyond her darkest imaginings. That's all the creators and stuff. But yeah, I want to see where the new story arc goes. From one of the covers, it looks like we're going to have our darkness character is going to be part of it, hopefully. And they did some awesome books back in the 90s with the darkness and Witchblade. I was selling some Witchblade stuff when I bought the one comic shop out on Listia, and it just so happened, I can't remember her name right now, the lady that played Sarah Pazzini in the Witchblade short series that they had, she got a hold of me and bought a bunch of products from me a few times through the Listia thing. So that was kind of cool, meeting her and talking to her for a while. But yeah, and it's got a sketch cover, so of course that's what I'll be picking up.
Cool. And R.L. Stine has a certain knack for telling stories where things creep up on you. And in that spirit, I saw Kevin Wolf had something with Stine written on there. So what is that?
Yeah, this is my R.L. Stine.
I've never seen that. What is it?
And it almost looked like a golden book on the edge.
Yeah. So R.L. Stine has done the Garbage Pail Kid in books in prose with art, and then you get a Garbage Pail Kid card. And I think they're on to #3.
I never knew that.
I never heard that either.
So if you're a child of the 80s, 90s, or if you
They're
like,
doing some really fun stuff with the Garbage Pail Kids this past year or two.
So I just have 1 and 2 at the moment, but
there's a 3-book set that is now in my shopping cart.
Yeah.
I'll send you the bill on what that cost me. So.
Oh, jeez. The comic books have been really fun too. I know they're doing a trade paperback of Origins, the Origins series and Zapta, I think is the artist on it. You can follow him on Instagram, but it's been super fun.
The Mad Balls crossovers too that they've been mixed up together were fun.
That was so much fun. Mad Balls and Garbage Pail Kids.
Yeah, I don't know how I missed that, but I'm glad you brought that up there. Cool, thank you.
Oh, for sure.
And I know what I was talking about for the incentive, which I'll talk about in my next round, but let's jump over to Katie. What you got?
Yeah, so at Boom Studios, we have Cursed Pirate Girl, a hardcover. Y'all, I'm on board just from the title. Apparently this was printed in 2015, and it revolves around a story of a girl who is a cursed pirate girl searching for her father, one of the captains of the dreaded Omerta Seas, and she has a companion named Pepper Dice, and she is going through all sorts of misadventures and trying to find her father and piratey goodness. I'm excited for it. This collects Cursed Pirate Girl annual #1 and Cursed Pirate Girl The Devil's Cave #1. And then I noticed either there's a double listing or like there's different covers or something, but there's 2 listings for the same book and previews. I'm excited for it. This is an advance slated for September 18th, 2024, and it's going to cost $30.
Cool. It's been a minute since we've had some Firefly over at Boom, but we have Firefly versus #1. It's a one-shot. In this one-shot special detailing a collection of pivotal moments of the much beloved crew of the spaceship Serenity. Witness the alternate thrilling origins of their introductions and intertwinings. Now, I believe this is a new story. Just because it just says you're collecting some of these stories, but I think that just means it's a kind of a mini anthology. But because in this case, there's a twist. What if the Browncoats had won the war against the Alliance? Now, this is the one that I saw the incentive for, and I just did some light research, and it sounds like it's going to be like a $40 cover. But look at this incentive cover for Firefly is so gorgeous. I'm looking at this and I'm like, all right, I want that as a big poster ready. Turn that into a blacklight poster or something too. Like,
Gives me a Flash Gordon feel to some of those big Flash Gordon pictures.
yeah. But this is the one that was the incentive, and based on, like I said, the research, I won't be buying it for $40. But talking about saving pictures and catalogs and all that kind of stuff. Kurt from the Crimson Cowl comics days just got a little upset because I just tore this page out of the catalog. So here, I got the variant cover. So
Hey.
there we go. So problem solved. I saved $40. Okay, that was my thing. Let's go to Kirby.
I got Luchaverse Catalyst #1. It's done by Rey Mysterio has a hand in here, but writers are Marco Lopez, Ivan Plaza. Artists are Ben Harvey, Brian Magne, and Diego Simone. It all starts here with the 3-part launch of the epic new shared Luchaverse. The world's most famous luchadors battle in the ring by day and serve humanity as monster hunters and world protectors by night. In this series, Masked Republic Comics and Massive Publishing bring back the glory of tradition of real-life lucha libre stars in comic books, setting the stage for a new era filled with epic cross-genre action in a shared universe. But yeah, I'm into the wrestling stuff at the moment, trying to pick the variety up. And Rey Mysterio, I always like that character, and they got some awesome covers and stuff. So.
Cool. Katie?
Yes, so from Alien Comics, there's I, Dragon, Book 1, The End of Genesis by Juan Jimenez. It's something I'm interested in based off of the title and cover alone. Sounds like it's setting up a story of a bunch of misfits. We have fiefdom of the royal family. Rosenthal Castle lives in its darkest hours, surrounded by a huge army. The leader who heads it is the bastard descendant of a lost royal line, and she has returned to reclaim her throne. A long and bloody struggle for power is about to begin. It's going to be in shops on July 24th, and it will cost $13. So I'm hoping this is an oversized issue, but I Dragon, check it out.
Excellent. Jumping over to something I never thought I would buy, but I will explain why because of the writer. The Powerpuff Girls #1. Sugar, spice, and everything nice. These are the ingredients you need to make the perfect little girl. But one day in the lab, Professor Utonium accidentally added a little something extra to the recipe, Chemical X. And Io, the Powerpuff Girls were born. I don't know. And lo, the Powerpuff Girls were born. Since the fateful day, Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup have dedicated their lives to fighting evil in every form, tirelessly defending their idyllic city from petty criminals, destructive monsters, and diabolical supervillains alike. So, I don't know anything about the Powerpuff Girls beyond the design. Never knew those characters' names until I read them right there. But I saw the writer is Kelly Thompson, who is one of my favorite writers of the modern age of comics. A lot of Marvel work, doing a lot of creative work in the last handful of years. Some Birds of Prey over at DC, and she's done some Archie. I don't think she's ever done Buffy, but she would be perfect for Buffy if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so this is something I was ready to skip over because I'm like, okay, no interest here. But then I happened to see Kelly Thompson's name, so I'm gonna give it a shot because she knows how to write ensemble characters, so I can imagine this being a fun time. That is the Powerpuff Girls #1.
That also caught my eye, Anthony. And now that you recommend her as a writer, it makes me more like, yeah, I got to check that out. So thanks.
Yeah, she is so excellent at dialogue, back and forth dialogue between characters. So she's a master at that. So. All right, Kirby.
All right, our duo with the strange love-hate relationship are back. By Joe Brusha, we got Man Goat and the Bunny Man, Beware the Pig Man, issue number 1 of 3. Yes, the time has come for the return of the world's greatest monster hunters, Man Goat and the Bunny Man, in an all-new adventure that promises to be the most explosive chapter yet. Demons, check. Monster hunters, check. Bat squatches? Sure. If only life were as simple as a super informative checklist. But what happens when this little pigman goes to the market and decides to cause a little havoc for our favorite bushy-tailed rabbit man and his beer can eating cryptid best friend? I can't speak. Find out in this new 3-issue series, sure to fulfill your nightmarish furry fantasies. But yeah, it's we're bringing the pig man into this story.
You said bat squatches. You got my attention.
I know. I want to know what the heck bat squatches are. Flying squatches? I don't know.
I mentioned it last night on Cartoonist by Night with the taco bats over at Abraham Linkage, but I'm curious to see what the bat squatches are. So, Katie.
I'm just imagining taco bats is like the new cursed menu item from Taco Bell. But anyway, I digress. So my last pick is over at Ablaze Publishing. This is called Tolkien Lighting Up the Darkness. It's a graphic novel. This should come as no surprise. I'm interested in this, but I saw it and I was super excited. It is by Willie Duraforg and the art is by Giancarlo Caracuzzo. So this is going to be about the life of J.R.R. Tolkien as a young man who is the author of The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, and The Silmarillion. A lot of people know him from, those books, of course, and later the movies. And they envision him as this, old man and, a professor at Oxford with his pipe. But when he was a young man, he was called up to go fight in the war in World War I. And the Battle of the Somme was one of the first actions he was involved in. And it had a huge impact on him, as it did pretty much all the young men of that generation. A war that really got into people's hearts and minds and changed them forever. And he was working on the languages of the elves and the history of Arda, which would become Middle Earth, while he was in the trenches. So I thought this looks like a really cool book. I really feel like Tolkien's Legendarium is great for comics. The only thing I want to caution is, how given they say never meet your heroes, right? And I'm like, okay, are they going to treat this with like kid gloves, or am I going to read this and feel like, oh man, like he's not the person I thought he was? But I think what I've reached is the idea that I'm going to see more about him as a human, a person, not the figure that I have imagined and idolized in my mind since I was a kid. And I think that is definitely a worthwhile and worthy thing to understand and pursue. So I'm really excited about this. I went on Amazon, put it on my wish list, and I also saw there's one about him and C.S. Lewis. So coming soon to a comic book club near you, we have Tolkien Lighting Up the Darkness. It'll be in shops on July 19th, and it will cost $16.99. Check it out.
Cool.
Wow, I'm sold on that one. I mean,
Cool. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Sell a book.
I assume you've seen the Tolkien movie, 2019, right?
I think so.
It's just called Tolkien, but it's about his autobiography.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that.
Of course.
Over at Archie Comics, continuing on with the Chilling Adventure Presents, we have Truth or Dare. When new student Trula Twist comes to Riverdale, her mysterious and quiet nature doesn't mix well with the squeaky clean facade of Riverdale High. Tormented by her past and with a keen interest in behavioral psychology, she sets her sights on dismantling the traditional high school hierarchy from within. How? By a simple game of truth or dare. This horror one-shot is smart, sexy, and for fans of movies like Escape Room, Saw, and Girl Interrupted. But yeah, I'm on board for everything that comes out from Archie from the horror line and the regular line. So It's just we always have to mention it. So truth or dare, Kirby?
All right, Mark Miller and Juan Ramirez brought something back, but they're scamming us. Got Nightclub Volume 2, Number 1. After last year's smash hit series, your favorite vampire superheroes are back. The only problem is that they've all fallen out and Sam is never going to forgive Danny for dating the girl he loves. Is he about to start his own rival vampire group? The first volume, basically, if you don't know about it, a kid was into parkour, gets seriously injured. A vampire gives him a chance to become a vampire, takes his ability. He wants to be a superhero, and it becomes really fun. And then it eventually goes into all these other little offshoots they did in crossovers. Anthony,
Well, I was gonna ask though, like, how much is this new book?
that's where I'm bringing the scam part of it in. First volume came out where they did this special little deal where every volume was $1.99. They had it big on all the covers to promote it and stuff. Now they're coming out at $4.99, but I'm still in for it. I love the story. They sucked me into it. No pun intended, but yeah.
But yeah, it was one of those promotional things of just saying, yeah, look how, these are 90s prices here. And, but yeah, I agree. They told a good story on that, but that is the first thing I quickly looked, being like, how much
Yep.
is, okay. The first taste is free, quote unquote free with $1.99, but then, free.
It almost makes me want to go trade with this just because.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it was a good story.
Yep.
Katie?
Actually, I think that is it for me for this round, unless we have a club pick.
Okay, I've got a couple more here. I'll start off with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 1. That is right. New series premiere, new jumping on point. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have all left New York to pursue their own interests, but there are forces gathering that will pull them back together, whether the bad guys like it or not. First up, Raphael. But why is everyone's favorite brawler in prison? When a surprise attack behind bars puts Raph's position in jeopardy, he needs to figure out how to get out of jail and warn his brothers that trouble is coming. Superstar writer Jason Aaron from The Mighty Thor, Batman Offworld, and our club discussion of Once Upon a Time at the End of the World. Teams up with Joelle Jones, who I love from Lady Killer and Catwoman, for the first issue of the new series that will start a bold new era celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Turtles while setting them up for the next 40 years to come. So yeah, I think these first 4 issues, while continuing story like with number 1, number 2, number 3, it will be focusing on each turtle. Having read through issue 150 at the moment and kind of seeing how that long run at IDW had went, it sounds like nothing's kind of being undone. It's a new number 1, but it sounds like they're honoring what had come before and kind of just taking that and setting the turtles off into a new direction. So yeah, I'm excited for it. A pretty awesome team. Jason Aaron crafts some great stories. They have 4 awesome artists that are all lining up for each turtle for these opening issues. I am 100% on board for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 1.
I will be getting that too.
So there we go. Sounds good.
All right. We got DOA Incorporated LLC number 1. Gonzo zombie killing action await in the new horror series DOA Incorporated LLC. Prepare for an adventure set in the wicked world of G.O. Parsons, the writer behind Willy's Wonderland and The Beast of Bower Boulevard. Teaming up with visionary artist Emmanuel Tamarelli, this dynamic duo delivers a spine-tingling twist on a classic tale of terror in a realm where every conceivable evil prowls unchecked. Justice is a rare commodity. Enter DOA Incorporated LLC, a ragtag company of mercenaries ready to exact revenge and eliminate any undead entity causing trouble for the right price. This is through American mythology. They've been putting out a lot of fun books, horror-wise. So check that out.
Excellent. This caught my attention when I see Beetle Bailey in the previews. This is Birth of a Beetle, the magazine, cartoons of Mort Walker. Mort Walker, the dean of American cartooning, left behind a legacy that extended far beyond his Beetle Bailey and High and Lois fame. For the first time ever, Hermes Press and Bill Janoka present a rare selection of gags and art from Walker's early years. Before Beatlemania took over the world, this historical book contains examples of the work he did prior to Beetle Bailey and explores the evolution of his style and showcases his many gags from his early comics in Show Me magazine and the work he did for the Saturday Evening Post. This tome also contains historical essays detailing his life and career up until his death in 2018, as written by Janoka. I have an awesome Mort Walker book that I promoted and reviewed on the show. I mentioned it on the episode with Kevin Wolf for Cartoonist by Night. But this here is a hardcover book, 192 pages, $60. But Birth of a Beetle, it's not every day you see a new collection of something focusing on Mort Walker and his awesome cartooning. I am 100% getting this and excited to learn even more. Just when I thought I knew everything, there's going to be some new stuff I'm going to find out. So. All right, Kirby.
Yeah, I want that, but the price tag has me hemming and hawing. So
take a look and see what the online discounts offer. But yeah,
yeah. In that vein, also there's a collection of Hagar 50th anniversary coming out this year too.
Really?
Yeah. So that book sounds amazing. Birth of Beetle. I'll have to check that out too.
Yeah, and looking at one online pre-order discount, they're quoting me $42 at the moment. So.
Yeah. All right. The best comic out of the catalog this month, Biker Mice from Mars, #1 of 3. Got Melissa Flores, Francis Portela, Dustin Weaver. Oh, those are covers, the other ones. But Francis Portela and Melissa Flores working on this. Mars, Mice, Motorcycles. The next epic chapter of the Nacellaverse starts now with an all-new, all-adrenaline adventure for the freewheeling, butt-kicking animation icons who ride the Red Planet's hardest roads. Rocketing out of the pages of Nacellaverse #0, which I reviewed on here. The 90s cartoon sensation is back in a brand new comic book series from we mentioned who it was from. Best friends Throttle, Moto, and Vinny were just 3 anthropomorphic motorcycle riding mice who called Mars home and were always bad to the bone. But when the ruthless Plutarchians stage a mass invasion to strip their planet of its precious resources, their anti-authoritarian streak is going to turn into a full-blown insurgency. Only the biker mice from Mars can prevent the mass destruction of Earth's neighbor, and the freedom of our entire solar system may just hang in the balance. And they do mention as this is leading into an upcoming animated series, which is extra special, extra bonus.
Excellent. And I don't think Kirby mentioned this one, but Epitaphs from the Abyss, #1. Did you mention that?
I am considering it, but I didn't.
So yeah, Epitaphs from the Abyss #1, the most notorious name in terror, is back with a vengeance. From the publisher that drove Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, Haunt of Fear, and many more into depraved hearts of an unsuspecting world, the immortal EC Comics returns with its first all-new series in nearly 70 years. In our first exercise 40-page dose of fear, witness shocking tales of torment and tension in the undying EC tradition, as wrenched from the grave by the vile intentions of acclaimed writers Brian Azzarello from Batman Damned, 100 Bullets, Chris Condon from The Texas Blood and Night People, Jay Holtham from FX's The Handmaid's Tale, and Stephanie Phillips from Harley Quinn and Grimm. And realized into bloody reality by all slaughter artists Jorge Fornes from Rorschach and Danger Street, Phil Hester from Family Tree, Peter Krause from Irredeemable, and more. What the Comics Code Authority couldn't kill has only made it stronger. EC Comics lives again. So yeah, it's a pretty talented group of names included in here. I'm definitely down at least for issue #1 to see what this is all about. But that is Epitaphs from the Abyss.
Ooh. I wonder if they're going to release like some of their pirate comics. I have a couple of those single issues that would be kind of cool to grab in an anthology.
Cool, cool.
We're going to Google that.
That was and I didn't notice it, but it has the reverse on the catalog here. Has one of the cover pages along with Jenny Frizen's another horror anthology thing. So they got some. They're highlighting horror for the month of July. That is the end of my selection. So Kirby, whatever you have left.
I got one left, and that is Barbaric versus Deathstalker. Done by Tim Seeley, Michael Morrissey, Nathan Gooden, Baby Marquise, and Jim Campbell. This is a one-shot featuring two of the most iconic sword and sorcery heroes locked in epic battle. Cursed Barbarian versus Warrior King. Axe versus Sword. Owen versus Deathstalker. When an evil wizard summons the two most reluctant heroes of all time, they'll have to square off, but a clash of steel alone may not decide the final victor. It's like, this is one of the best. If you like barbaric stuff, this is one of the best barbarian style stories I ever read. If you like the comedic, goofy, bloody, gory, it's just so much fun. A talking axe that thrives off the blood as you kill people and stuff. Now you got the other weapons that are in, the mace, the sword, and they're just bringing all kinds of characters in, witches and stuff. It's just been so much fun.
I've heard the axe gets drunk off of the blood or something like that.
Yeah, he gets all bloody. That's the axe right there.
Yeah,
and he just goes off talking, and he complains when he ends up like slaughtering someone that's got like black blood and stuff like that. You can hear him complain about it because of the effects that it causes him and stuff. But yeah, he gets drunk on that blood and just gets really interesting how he gets into it. But yeah.
Excellent. So those are some of our highlights for our picks. We can't cover all the hundreds upon hundreds of pages, but I highly recommend checking out Under the Cowl of MS because Kirby goes through and he has a Marvel episode, a DC episode, and the giant catalog covering more than we can cover here. So it's very important to pre-order your comics at your local comic shop or your preferred online retailer. And these are just some of the picks that we are excited about. Couple plugs, crimsoncowl.com. Go there for info and original web comics. Subscribe to the audio version, Crimson Cowl Comic Club on iTunes. Subscribe, rate, and review to help the show. Crimson Cowl Comic Club on YouTube if you want the full experience, the visuals and all of that fun stuff. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Kirby has a spin-off podcast called Under the Cowl of MS if you'd like to promote that and let the people know what's been going on.
Yeah, like Anthony said, I got the previews episodes out right now. We got another unpacking or two by the time this episode comes out. We did the free comic book day, which got split up between, I think, four days worth of reviews on that one. So we got through every one of the free comic book day comics and stuff. Lots of fun, lots of things going on right now at the moment. So hopefully I'll get back to some of the other episodes I do, but I obviously overpowered myself with too many different styles.
Offering a lot of stuff over there, so definitely subscribe to Under the Cowl of MS over on YouTube, as well as the social media platforms for Facebook and Instagram to get everything that is happening over there. I have some art accounts over on Instagram and Facebook, Anthony Laatsch, Laatsch. I have an upcoming event I just booked for Saturday, June 15th, 2024. Romy's Nightingale in Black Creek, Wisconsin, through the Comic Verse events. I've done a couple shows with them now. I'm excited for my first time going to Black Creek, Wisconsin to set up my little art table and sell some art and prints and bookmarks and stickers and all that fun stuff. It's a comic book convention and toy show, so check that out. The information is before and after this show for the video version, or just go to my social media pages for those details. I also have original art at the Gift Nook in Kewaskum, Wisconsin. Got some original gnome sketch cards and some of my prints are available there. If you find yourself in beautiful downtown Skokie at Oh Yeah Comics, I happen to slide an entire page of Creature from the Black Lagoon cartoon-inspired sketch cards that I left there for purchase exclusively for their shop. And then I have a drawing show called Cartoonist by Night on YouTube, myself, Troy Dungara, Matt Fife, Matt Rogers, and D. Brad Gibson celebrated recently a 1-year anniversary. That episode is available at the moment, hanging out and celebrating 1 year of doing episodes. I think that was maybe the 23rd episode. Watch us hang out, draw, and discuss. We've had some guests on the show, one of them being Kevin Wolf from Happy Wolf Art. So not only can you check out him on this very program for a creator interview in the feed to learn all about the California kids, you can check out his episode of Cartoonist by Night, where we draw and discuss newspaper comics and go even further with his creative journey and stuff like that. So lots of different ways to check out Kevin Wolf's art. A new episode that has been recorded that may or may not be out by this time. There's a lot of stuff being released at the moment, but my friend Chris O'Connell, who is from the Skokie community, he's a customer there. He's an artist in the area and part of their drawing community and everything. I had talked about his work in the past here with Scary Comics that I purchased from him and Ryan Vila that they had at Fan Expo Chicago, which I believe they're going to be back there again. But yeah, Chris O'Connell joined us for his Cartoonist by Night interview, and his topic was the late great Darwin Cook. So that episode is in the books. I've got to edit it yet, but we discussed the life of Darwin Cook and the inspirations and stuff like that, as well as learning about Chris O'Connell. Giving a shout out to the Santos sisters. We had some early copies of issue number 6. Under the Cowl of MS has an ad in there. We had some ads in the Halloween special, but here's one here for Under the Cowl of MS. And then the Crimson Cowl Comic Club has their first printed ad in the Santos sisters, which is also the little debut of our cartoon faces. Where are we? Here we are. I'll in editing, if I remember to do this. Future Anthony's usually busy with Cartoonist by Night. I don't know how much he remembers to jump over to Crimson for some of these inner stitching plugs. But I drew all of the lovely faces here at the Crimson Cowl Comic Club and put us in a little ad there. So got some extra people. So if you picked up Santos Sisters and if you check this out, thank you, and I hope you join, like, and subscribe, and all of that stuff. I'm looking at everything around me, and I think I covered everything that we're plugging and talking about. Once again, thank you for Kevin Wolf for not only joining us for the creator interview, but joining us here at the Crimson Cowl Comic Club proper.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Cool, and definitely check out his work, and he's got the California kids out there, so reach out to Happy Wolf Art over on Instagram, and all the information and everything will be available in the links, and check out the creator interview to learn more about Kevin Wolf and check out his works. And as we do for all of our creator guests, once you've been invited in, you're always welcome back anytime you want. If you need to talk about Armored issue number 2, you just gotta reach out to us. You can come back. It's an open door policy once you're a guest here on the Crimson Cowl Comic Club. So there we go. That is going to do it for this entire episode. Thank you for checking it out. This whole time, I've been a creature from the Laatsch Lagoon.
I've been taking a cruise with Harley Squirrel and little Wolvie Pool.
I've been late for my shift at Slim Morton's.
I guess I'm a Teen Titan.
This whole time I've been hanging out with Big Barda, and we're at the wedding or renewing the vows of Spider-Man.
To be continued.
Thank you, Slimer.